My friends, my enemies, your holiness, happy Halloween. It's the big day. So what could possibly be a film so cool / so important that we saved it for October 31st? Well, to quote singer-songwriter Donovan, must be the season of the witch. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the final day of OctoberFest here on Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and this is it. This is one of my all-time favorite horror gems. Not necessarily my favorite, but so important, it had to be saved for Halloween. And ladies and gentlemen, that movie is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Little bit of a backstory. This movie hit theaters on October 22nd in the year of our Lord 1982. However, it got slapped down by critics pretty damn fast because guess what? Yes, this is called Halloween 3, but Michael Myers, the serial killer with the mask, is not in this movie because he died at the end of Halloween 2. And Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, is not in this movie because her story ended in Halloween 2. Halloween 3 moved on. It told a brand new story with brand new characters, and it got flack for that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, breaks my little heart because somebody attempted to tell a brand new story and the entire world, fans and critics alike, slapped that person's creativity down and said, no, we want more of the same. We want Michael Myers again. And unfortunately, Hollywood acquiesced and we got Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, a scant few years later, and it was back to the same old shtick from then on. To this day, it's 2019. Every time a Halloween movie comes out, it's still just Michael Myers stabbing people. We could have had something special. But what's something special? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm about to spoil the hell out of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, so ye have been warned. Michael Myers has been swapped out for a new kind of antagonist. This man, a warlock from Ireland named Conal Cochrane. Conal Cochrane has been practicing ancient Celtic magic pretty much all of his life. We don't know how old this man is, but we assume he's a bit older than he looks. And by a bit, I mean several generations older than he looks. As a warlock, he is able to cast spells and do a lot of weird curses and disturbing things to people, but he's focused his sights, his devious arcane sights, on the holiday of Halloween itself. Because, as a practitioner of ancient Celtic traditions, Conal Cochrane is aware that way back in the day when, paganism was the prevalent source of faith in Europe, the pagans on October 31st had a little holiday called Samhain. And Samhain was their festival to mark the end of the harvest season and the rotation of the globe out of summer and into the colder months. If you're familiar with Halloween 2, yes, they tried to bring up Samhain, but they didn't do a very good job of it. In fact, they mispronounced it. Everybody in that movie called it Samhain, which is how it's spelled, but not how it's said. So Halloween 3 is legit educational to boot. Anyway, Conal Cochrane is obviously very fond of Samhain and the ancient traditions of his people, and he hates the sheer commercialism that has become Halloween. Because in 20th century America and Canada, folks, Halloween is nothing but commercialism. It is a platform with which to sell candy, costumes, party favors, razor blades, if you're that kind of person. Cochrane hates this and wants to punish the world for ruining what once was a sacred feast to his ancestors. How does he do this? Buckle in for this, okay? As one of the richest men in the world, Conal Cochrane owns a toy and novelty factory where he makes pranks and cuckoo clocks and masks and all kinds of stuff. He's basically the Willy Wonka of novelties. Using his magic and resources, Cochrane steals one of the ancient stones of Stonehenge, which are all imbued with ancient godlike powers by the Celtic druids themselves. Tapping into the Stonehenge's energy, he takes crumbs from the Stonehenge rock he stole and places one crumb in each of the Halloween masks that he produces, and then gets those masks out to every single child all across America on Halloween. His marketing platform is intense. This actually works. Then at 9 o'clock, he tells all the kids to tune in to a special broadcast where they could win a prize, but what ends up happening is the broadcast sends a flashing light that triggers a signal to the rock from Stonehenge that will cause the child to die. And not just die, drop of a heart attack, but the child will literally have their head crushed by the mask, and then a bunch of snakes and bugs will come out of their face because it's evil magic, so you have to have snakes and bugs to make it gross, because that's how magic rolls. That's his plan. He wants to kill every child in America to destroy what Halloween has become and bring it back to its Celtic roots. Boom. Season of the Witch. A far cry from a guy running around with a knife. Our two main heroes, Ellie Grimbridge and Dr. Dan Chalice, start to unravel the mystery of what's going on with Conal Cochran's Mask Factory, and piece by piece, they try to stop it and save all the children in America, and possibly the world, depending on how famous trick-or-treating is, from a very gruesome fate. Do they succeed, and how? I'm not going to spoil that part. There's only so much I have the heart to tell you. So where to begin with this? Like I said, this came out in October 1982. We are right there inside of Reagan's America at this point. This is the decade of excess, and Halloween had never been more commercial than it was then. It's not even that commercial today. Halloween really seems to be trickling by the wayside, and I don't think that's just coming from me as a jaded adult who has moved on. Halloween feels like it's hard to find now. I don't see as many trick-or-treaters out on the streets as I did when I was a kid, and I like to go take walks on Halloween and watch it all happen. Something is missing. And back then in the 80s, that something was not missing. That something was right there. It was prevalent. Trick-or-treating was huge. So I think this came out at the perfect moment in time to really celebrate the excessiveness of Halloween and have our villain Conal Cochran want to destroy that very same excessiveness. What might be my favorite scene of the whole movie is when we get to Halloween itself, because the whole film starts to count down the days to Halloween, starting from, I think, October 20th. And once Halloween arrives, we see a montage that takes place all across the United States of children from one corner of the country to the other trick-or-treating and celebrating the holiday in their own various ways. And these montages, folks, are gorgeous. There is so much of that old school Halloween spirit from our childhood that is just packed into that maybe 1.5 minutes of screen time, especially this shot of Phoenix, Arizona. This just blows my mind. The sky is a deep, menacing orange, the children silhouetted against it as they walk down a hill from one neighborhood towards another, their bags bulging with candy, their heads filled with excitement, blissfully unaware of the actual horrors that are about to befall them if Conal Cochran has his way. This is Halloween, right there. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous shot, and it might be one of my favorite shots in motion pictures, period. So the question that's probably on a lot of people's minds now is, okay, if this is not about Michael Myers and it's telling a totally different story, that's fine, but why did they call it Halloween 3 instead of making it its own separate thing? Here's the answer. Due to the franchise's popularity, people wanted sequels, and when John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were approached, they were hesitant at first. They didn't want to go the Friday the 13th route, even though that route didn't exist yet at this point. They didn't want to just have endless sequels of endless Michael Myers. They finished their story and they were happy with that. So they said they would go on and work on a Halloween 3 as long as it could be about something different. And somewhere down the line, I don't know who it was, whether it was them or Tommy Lee Wallace, but somebody had the, in my opinion, billion-dollar idea, hey, let's turn the Halloween franchise into an anthology franchise. With this new plan of action in mind, here's what they were going to do. Every couple of years, they would release a new Halloween movie, but it would have its own self-contained story, just like when you watch Black Mirror or Twilight Zone. It's just one and done, maybe two and done, like the Michael Myers story, but that's it. And then the next time a Halloween movie comes out, you move on to something else. The only connective tissue there would be is the holiday itself. All of the stories revolved around Halloween and all the crazy spooky shit that could possibly go down in a holiday such as that. And suddenly, possibilities are everywhere. Yes, Halloween 3 has an insane, bonkers plot about a warlock. He's stealing Stonehenge pieces. It's insanity. It's absolutely insanity, but he's using Halloween masks to get his point across. Halloween itself is still covering this entire movie like a delicious layer of sugary orange frosting on top of an already pretty decent sponge cake. And if all had gone to plan, if this film had made money and garnered a nice following, they would have made Halloween 4, and it would have been about something completely different, but taking place on Halloween as well. And then we would have had Halloween 5, the monster from the swamp. I don't know. I'm just making up titles, but that's what would have happened. That's the world we could be living in right now. And somewhere out there, if you believe in the many worlds theory, there is a parallel universe where instead of watching Michael Myers run after people for 13 movies, they are enjoying a Halloween movie every couple of years that's just about something new and fresh and creative. And who knows, those movies could have been so inspiring that they inspired young people to grow up and become filmmakers and tell their own creative stories, and Hollywood might be a much more original place there than it is here. I'm going to do some quick math here, so forgive me while I calculate, but Halloween 3 came out in 1982, which was 37 years ago. So if we had gotten a Halloween movie, let's say on average every 2 years, we'd be looking at most likely Halloween 18 coming out in this immediate vicinity. We could be up to Halloween 18 right now, and it could be anything. It could be Halloween 18, the Jack-o'-lanterns strike back, Halloween 18, the haunted Winnebago. I don't know. It could be anything. There's so much potential, and that parallel universe got it all because we were greedy and boring and scared, and we didn't want to take a risk on this brand new thing, which admittedly did not make a lot of money during its initial run, but that's because people were turned off by the fact that there was no Mike Myers. And it didn't help that the critics were bashing it either. Yes, it's a stupid, cheesy movie that's not particularly well acted or well directed, but it's a fun piece of cinema with a bright original story that's wildly entertaining and was meant to set something in motion. That's what we have to stress here. Halloween 3 was meant to put this grander scheme in motion. The only other movie I can think of that was ambitious enough to try to set up something that big was a little movie called Iron Man 1. Back in 2008. Thankfully, the whole world loved Iron Man, and because of that, we just saw Endgame, and Endgame was great, and we have had 10 years of amazing interconnected Marvel movies with hopefully another 10 years to look forward to. Imagine if Iron Man did not do well. Imagine if Iron Man was the exact same movie that it is, as good as it actually is now, but for whatever reason people were like, I don't want to see Marvel heroes like this. I don't want to see this world building and interconnectivity. I just want Iron Man to be like the same kind of franchise as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four movies by Tim Story. I just want it to be these little one-and-done adventures that don't really have any consequence in the grand scheme of things, and I want the characters to be less interesting and less well-defined. And Hollywood listened to that and they're like, okay, and we never would have gotten the MCU. That is a potential universe. Thank God we don't live in it. But unfortunately, we also live in the universe where that exact same thing happened to Halloween. Right now, my shelf could have 18 DVDs on it of amazing Halloween movies throughout the years, and they could have been time capsule-y too, because you would have had your run of 80s movies, which would have been, like Halloween 3 itself, steeped in 80s culture and wood panel TVs and shag carpeting and all that fun stuff. Then you could have moved into the 90s and you could have had the Halloween movies with that weird 90s edge where everybody was playing rock music and people wore disgusting denim like everywhere. And then you could have gone into the early 2000s and had that sort of Halloween movie where people were trying to be grittier and artier about it. Maybe famous directors and writers would have wanted to try their hand. It's like a staple, like, hey, you're getting to be a famous director, you should come do the next Halloween movie. Maybe Chris Nolan would have made a Halloween movie and it would have been amazing. Who knows? We missed out. We missed out on a world where Halloween was celebrated in cinema in a very, very, very special way, and we only have ourselves to blame for it. Well, not ourselves, but people who were around in 1982. I blame them. So Halloween 3 Season of the Witch lives on merely as a curiosity, as a wrinkle in the fabric of the Halloween franchise that garners a few weird looks because of just how weird and different it is. And that's that. That's all it will ever be. It has garnered a small cult following over the years because thankfully people have noticed, hey, this movie ain't half bad and it's a lot of fun to watch. As much as I am looking forward to Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends because I love the idea of putting a cap on this saga and having these two movies back to back and making it feel more, epic, I still wish that we lived in that other parallel universe. And I'll tell you, man, if I had power in Hollywood, I would use that power to turn Halloween into a yearly or once every 2 years anthology franchise that just celebrates every last drop of juicy goodness that this beautiful holiday has to offer. I would make that series a thing. I would make our universe that lucky parallel universe that got to enjoy this wonderful, wonderful world of 18 Halloween films with no end in sight. But that's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and that is literally Halloween. That is October 31st. That is today. I wish you all a wonderful Halloween. I don't know what you're doing right now besides watching me, but I hope it's fun. I hope it's exciting. I hope you're wearing a costume. I hope you're eating chocolate, and I hope you're giving kids and adults, whoever comes to your door, some candy. Because guess what, folks? Life is too short. I don't care how old you are. Go out there, trick or treat, have fun, enjoy the wonderful festive season of Samhain, because I don't want Connell Cochran to hear me talking about anything other than Samhain and get mad and put a curse on me. But I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. This has been OctoberFest. I'm so glad you were all here to share it with me. I'll see you all next time, and until then, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, 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 happy Halloween.